Welcome back to Hustlers. I'm your host, Loss. We've got Monty Betham on today. Roll that intro, baby.
I'm about to blow. I gotta stay on my hustle, you know that I'm grinding for sure. I came up right from the bottom, now they see me chasing my goals. Now they see me on the go, yeah. Now they see me on the road. It's time to hustle, yeah, it's time to grow. I'ma shoot for the stars and we aim for the gold. It's time to hustle, yeah, it's time
Professional boxer, rugby league ledge. What do you got? Over 100 caps for the Warriors, eh?
Yeah,
Over 100
yeah.
tests for Kiwis, Samoa. Bit of a TV personality, commentator. Does it all, really.
Just a hustler, my man. Just a hustler. just trying to do what you can to feel fulfilled in life, feel like you're contributing, and you know, because I believe you only got one life, so you gotta have those highs which come with the lows. But also, man, you gotta pay your way. You gotta pay the bills. And if you can do what you love and pay the bills doing that, you never work another day in your life, man.
100%. First of all, thanks for jumping on, bro.
Pleasure.
And also, thank you for having me. I just also said this to Pat, but just that actual huge thank you to you guys for allowing me to use the facility, help me sort of level up my content game. Obviously, as we know, that's the game these days. So just trying to improve, trying to get a bit better, and it's awesome to have guys like you to help me out. So big thanks to you, bro, for that.
Awesome, bro. And the reason why you're in here is because we've seen that entrepreneur in you. We've seen your mahi, we've seen your work ethic. And we go way back to the nines when you were in a kicking competition with Carlos Spencer, Daryl Halligan, and it was on Sky TV in our nines at Eden Park, and I was doing the emceeing for that. So I was like, that's right, that's that guy.
Can't believe you remember
Awesome,
that.
man. I remember, man.
That was wild. That was JT, Jonathan Thurston. I remember when I first rocked up to that, I was just like in shock. Like, Jonathan Thurston in person, and Joey Johns. Jeez, the GOATs.
The names, man, like those guys are just freakish. The ability to having played against him. I got Joey Johns' shorts. I've got Brad Fittler's last test jumper. You know, I remember many times as a kid growing up pretending I was Fittler at lunchtime, and then I debuted against him. I punched him in the face in my debut match, and then I get his test jumper, man. Like, he's the man, Freddie Fittler. So it's a great thing, sport, babe, because it brings people together. I mean, that's how you came together, and we came together initially. So we're very fortunate, man.
But Joey Johns actually talked to me that day about, I don't know if you ever talked to him about it, some place up north or something that he came to in New Zealand a lot. He had a little batch or something that I don't think many people knew about. But he used to come over all the time and go surfing up north in New Zealand. Did you know about that?
I know he's a mad surfer. There was a bit of sledging back and forth in our days when we played a lot. There was always that mutual respect. But like, you know, we used to hate seeing Joe, because when Joey would turn up, he would just have a field day. He was one of those guys. You know, I remember we played against the Newcastle Knights once, and we had to try and stop Joey, and we finally stopped Joey, but then Adam McDougall scored 5 tries. So, you know, that was back in the days where they were a very good side, premiership winning side, and just freaks, man. Yeah. Well,
Got to make a quick shout out to our sponsor, making the podcast possible, Bout Fitness, the Mount. Talked to you a bit about them before.
Nice, yes.
Just a hit gym, pretty much, with a bit of boxing involved in that. So it actually works quite cool, bro, because you can turn up and it's like 11 sort of stations, 3-minute rounds, 30 seconds in between. You just rock up in whatever station's available, you jump on it.
High energy.
You've
been through that yourself, you love that?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's almost like a sports team when I go there. So the culture that they've built, their name's Kane and Estelle Bajent, so they've built an awesome culture. Everyone gets around it and excited and trains hard, and nice little community.
I need to go check it out myself then. Next time I'm down, bro, we'll go.
You ever go down there?
Day. Yeah, I go down there the odd times. It's a little bit, you know, when you later on in your life with the family go down, but you know, through those heydays when you're going down there for New Year's down at the mountain, there's some good times, man. But you know, we're going to talk about that on the podcast right now. You don't have to ask those questions, but when I'm down, we'll go for a jam, man.
Yep, sounds good, bro.
What's the name of the place?
Bout Fitness, the Mount.
Bout Fitness.
So little quick deal there if you want to jump in. Just mention Hustlers there. You get a $0 joining fee, save yourself $50 and your first week free. So why not try it? We'll definitely take you in when we go down there.
Let's go.
Sounds good. Let's dive into it, bro. I'm a big fan since way back, bro, because as we've already talked about, my uncle was heavily involved in, obviously my family was heavily involved in league. I come from the Ropati Stars family, so you've obviously played with him?
No, he was a year older, but he was playing for Marist, and I was Papatoe Panthers. We had big battles against Marist, the club that he was playing for the year below him. But so how did you end up playing rugby then, bro? If that's the...
So I moved to the Mount when I was quite young. Okay. I was born up here, lived with my grandparents, who are Jerome's parents.
Yeah.
Till I was about 3 years old, and then I moved down to the Mount with my parents. And there's no league down there.
Yeah.
A little bit. There's probably about 3 or 4 teams that, and I did play it on Sundays, but there was no sort of pathway down there for league. So I ended up switching to rugby just because everyone played rugby and it was so big down there. So, I mean, I think I always still found league the most interesting. I still find it the most intriguing to watch. I'd prefer to watch a game of league than a game of rugby at the moment.
You got Richie Mwanga, you got a lot of these guys that sit back, they take a huge following of the game, they love the game. Or Teddy Black, he's the same. I've been having chats with him online, and he says he would love the game and thought of actually playing the game. But it's nice when you've got that cross-code sort of reference and thoughts of particular players and how you play, man.
Did you ever play rugby?
Man, I grew up playing rugby. And I used to tell Rex, your Uncle Rex tells us, mate, you're playing the wrong game. That is a shit game. And I used to say, like, I was so biased towards rugby union. Growing up, everyone wanted to be an All Black, everyone wanted to play rugby.
Yeah.
That is until I played my first game of rugby league, right? Because we had our Walter Dixon coach wanted to go and coach rugby league one year.
Wow.
So changed over, played that, and that was the game for me. But
jeez, Walter Dixon days. Yeah. All great stories have a start and a beginning. Obviously, let's start back to how your sort of journey began. Let's go right back to sort of your childhood and growing up and how that sort of made you who you are today.
I guess growing up, there's a bit of naivety there, bro, because my dad, everywhere we went, he was known by a lot of people, especially
Boxing,
Pacific Islanders. You know, like he was in top 10 in the world. He spent time in camp with Angelo Dundee and Muhammad Ali. I was almost born over there in Miami. But he came home and, like I used to think, well, how come everyone knows my dad, man? And like everyone wanted to shake his hand and everyone made a big deal about him. And I think I was 11 years of age. My dad came home and he had these videotapes. You wouldn't even know what a videotape is, man. You're too young, the VHS days. And it was footage of his fights back then and who he fought and how he fought. And I was like, wow, because growing up, I always had the scrapbooks there. The scrapbooks were like 4 or 5 scrapbooks full of all his old clippings of who he fought, what he had done, what he achieved, Betham and all the headlines, everything else. And I was going, wow, like this is Dad, and he's from Samoa. And I had that naivety thinking, well, if Dad could do something pretty good, then maybe I can, because I used to shoot off my mouth and tell my dad all the time, man, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do that. And he would tell me, which is something I'm very fond of, which is a quote today, which is, don't tell me, son, show me. So that's
good words.
A lot of belief early on, without really knowing that there's a lot of hard work to do, man.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere you actually wanted to do boxing, but your mum didn't want you to. Is that right?
Yeah, 100, man. Like, as you would.
Of
my
course,
dad had his old gear around. I used to put it on and pretend I was a boxer. I used to go away and dream and think, just do a bit of shadow boxing and pretend I was in particular matches or winning particular titles like my dad had done, especially when I saw the footage. But my mum was adamant, man. She went through a lot watching my dad. She didn't like it one bit, and that was something I knew from an early age it was going to be the way to go. So that's why I got into karate, because my dad and my mum didn't want me to do that. I'd watch the videotapes that my dad would use to get hyped up before fights, which was kung fu movies and that. So then I started putting holes in walls and smashing the broomsticks, and then my dad would not only give me a fussy, but then he'd be angry. Then he said, you know what, I'm going to get you into karate. So my mum thought if I got into karate, it would steer me away from that path of boxing. And
what belt are you?
I was a black belt.
Wow.
I was a black belt. I represented my country. The last time I fought, this is my claim to fame, man. 16 years of age. I was playing in the grand final on the Sunday. It was Papatoe Panthers versus Marist. rugby league.
Yeah.
But that was when my age group was on that weekend. So I had to fly to Christchurch to go in the nationals, and I couldn't fight in my age group, so I fought in the men's open. And I won the men's open at 16 years of age, kumite, and then I flew back on the Sunday and I scored 3 tries in the grand final.
Oh,
And at 6 even, bro. Can you believe it?
What a
Because Donkey
weekend.
used to play 6, so it was a massive weekend.
6.
He used to play 6. It was a massive weekend. I used to tell everyone I just peaked too early, man. I peaked too early. But that's all right. At least I had it. I was a has-been by 17, but 16 was a good year for me.
You obviously did do a bit of boxing though, and I was just like, because I've always been curious what it's like to sort of be in the ring. Like we've done in the past before, like rugby trainings and stuff. The boys would get the boxing gloves on. You got to jump in and do a minute or whatever. And I've done like a minute, and I've been like, my ass is hanging out after a minute. Does the adrenaline like sort of take over, or are you quite sort of, are you feeling it almost the whole time?
If you think about the role you play as a first 5 on the field, or you playing a position, it's when you've played 50 games that you play it a lot more efficiently.
Right.
You know where to be, how to be, so you're more relaxed, you're not wasting energy, or you're not running lines that are ridiculous lines, running around like a headless chook, because you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for the first time fighters, and when you cross over into the sport for the first time, it's really hard, because you try and tell a man you're going to get in the ring, you don't really know how good the opponent is you're going to face, and then you're going to fight and you're going to see who wins, because naturally that fight or flight system takes off.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you use a lot of excessive energy, man, even just by moving too much. Or punching too hard, because you think it's all about being aggro or their red
that's
mist. It's
interesting.
actually not, bro.
Yeah.
And we just, Logan Dodge just fought on the weekend, and
gonna
he's
ask you
been at
about that.
T-Week camp with me. It's very much, you got to be neutral.
Yeah.
You got to remain neutral. You only see targets, and you just got to be accurate. You don't try and punch the shit out of things, because if you try and do that, you load up, you tense up, and then you miss your cues, or the opponent sees that. And if the opponent can see that, they can get away, or they can bridge, or getting ready for the punches. So it really is a very sort of, I call it physical chess.
Yeah.
Because that, at best, is the
Okay,
way it's
yeah.
got to be perceived. Because if you're neutral, you can react to what comes on, and you're not just got your blinkers on, you're thinking about attack, and then you cop one. So it really is a sort of an art form. That's why something like UFC or MMA, man, I mean, those guys and what they do, because that's even levels on top of boxing, eh?
Yeah, of course. I've always noticed, like, in bouts and stuff, the guys who do the boxing, and I've seen in sort of videos, and that when they're boxing bags and stuff, I tend to see it doesn't move that much, or if it does, it's for some reason. Is there, like, say you're punching a bag, you're doing some bag work or whatever, is there a way you're doing it, like, where it's like almost what you just sort of said, like you're not punching it as hard as you can?
There can be strategies involved in it. I remember training with Luluhei Muli, which was a wonderful. Luluhei Muli trained Ray Surfor. He was part of the Liga lineage, that is Balmoral Liga, that City Boxing uses, City Kickboxing uses today. Like Eugene and that have all been under Lulu. And so on. So Luluhei Muli is a wonderful teacher, and the strategies involved. So there's different ways and different strategies you use with the bag, or there's that just punch the shit out of it, and then just get that that strength coming through your shoulders, and getting good at sort of learning to deal or feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Like quite often I'll do stuff with my fighters. There'll be an element of fatigue factor and fitness, but almost instantly and immediately they transition into under fatigue, reacting the right way, whether it be defensive drills, or whether that be seeing the cues on attack or range, or
It's quite
all that type of
relatable,
stuff.
across a lot of sports.
Absolutely, bro, and it's the same thing. And I think I've had 10 fighters who have fought as celebrities or people of profile. And in a corporate situation, it is a process. It's only 3 rounds, 2-minute rounds, 1 minute off. But it's easy to coach if you know what you're doing, because as you know, being in systems and playing in systems, that there's always a process. And if you get the process done right, and if you care enough to ensure that they've got the right purpose and they put in the right sort of work ethic, that muscle memory kicks in, and then when you're under fatigue or under the lights or under any sort of stress, that you just react the right way, and that's the way it's got to be. That's high performance, man.
You talked about punching the shit out of things, and I'm pretty sure Carl Webb would agree with that. We're going to have to dig into the archives and post a bit of a snippet on this one.
I think that was in black and white, bro. Was that black and white back then?
The infamous fight. Casey Macguire stood up at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Copped a few on the on the side of the noggin. Who genuinely started that?
Well, I think I didn't like the fact that I got picked up and I got carried a long way.
I saw a bit of an elbow there when you turned.
Yes, there may have been a little bit of elbow in that movement when I tried to get on my front side to play the ball. But Carl Webb was he was a junior boxing champion.
Oh wow!
Back in the day, and he has been renowned as one of the players over the years that you at least like to pick a fight with, and I got it a couple of years as well. Casey Macguire before that had just dropped Justin Hodges. I think it was a year before that, in a punch on the field as well. Yeah. So what happened was when I got picked up and I gave Carl Webb the elbow, and I probably shouldn't have done it, but it's different back then.
Oh, it's niggle okay. Too.
He tried to have a go at me straight away, and I knew that was okay. So I jumped up, I wanted him, and I went for him. But then Casey Macguire got in the way, and I thought, well, hey, if it's on and we're in, why don't you head in? Casey was there, so I just started teeing off him. But that was the mentality we had as the Warriors back in those days, right? And that was unfortunately the intimidator role, or the guy that's got to be the aggressor in those situations. When you get it right, it works well. And I believe we've never lost a game when I've had a fight. And I had a few fights. I'm not saying I didn't put pressure on our boys at times, but that was huge. But that was crazy because there was a photo up in the gym, and Tavita Latu was there, and it was a melee breaking out. Tavita Latu was just stuck in the middle going. It was a very funny shot. So Casey Macguire, I spoke to him on the way out, and I said, are you good, or do you want to keep going, or what? And then I came off, and Tony Kemp called me, and he was in the change room after I got 10 minutes, and he said, mate, if it happens, go again. I said, yes, sir.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah, but that's back in the days.
Game's changed,
100%.
I like, even you look at like State of Origin and that now, and like when I was a young fella, I was a little fella.
You are a young fella.
When I was a little fella, and I used to watch the State of O, it was renowned for a big scrap to come. Like, it was going to happen. There was just no doubt about it. And now you just don't see it.
Nah, yeah. Like part of me goes, I understand, and it's cool because you sign up to be a rugby league player. You shouldn't have that in there. But if I'm honest, that side of it is really great. Just like shoulder charges were, they were the real opportunities. If you weren't the best player, but if you're aggressive enough, you could get over players and you could change the momentum of a game. So I reckon if you went back, and it's not going to be, I mean, it's outlawed, but if you went back to like ice hockey, right? So if you and I had a disagreement, man, we just go, bro, one-on-one. And if you go, yeah, and I go, yeah, let's go. But if I go, you one-on-one, and you go, no, okay, so you dropped your nuts. Sweet. And then let's get on with the game. You know what I mean? That could be quite cool
Is it not a thing anymore?
Well, you're not allowed to fight anyway. But like, I think back in the day, maybe if you just said that now, but you knew that no one could come in from anywhere. Yeah, that's not the protocols. And it was just simply that, man. You might go to me, Monty, in a fight, and if I go no, and then I drop my nuts, and then that's it. Okay, cool. I'll be like, Carlos, nah, bro, sweet, man, and then sweet as, and then that way,
sweet Monty dropped his nuts.
You sorted something out there and then. And you could just say to me, look at the scoreboard, bro, which is sweet too.
That's the one I tend to go to, obviously, with
that's what happens, bro.
Majority of the time I'm looking up at them, and and they're asking me for a fight. I just run the other way and say, look at the scoreboard.
They don't normally like pretty boys, bro.
While we're delving into the behind the scenes sort of stuff, you had a bit of a fight with Shane Cameron. Did you have more than one, or?
Oh, look, with Shane Cameron, just had one with Shane Cameron. Obviously, it was fight for life. I was training some of the league boys, and I was waiting for a rugby guy to put his hand up, and there was a number of them who said no, and then 2 weeks to go, Dean Lonergan rang me up and said, so you know how no one wants to fight you. They're scared. There was about 3 different opponents that pulled out. They're rugby. I'm not going to say anything, bro. They're rugby boys. It was league versus rugby. I said, yeah, I do, man. Why is that? He goes, I want you to sit down. I said, what do you mean sit down? He goes, sit down. they're feeling that particular way. You're going to feel that right now. I said, what do you mean? Because he goes, I want to ask you something. I want you to fight Shane Cameron. And I said, what? Are you serious? Shane Cameron? Shane Cameron was, I think, ranked in the top 15 in the world at that stage. I just had 5 fights, and I was just learning, bro. Like, I hadn't even learned a hell of a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, man. Straight away, I was like, yeah, man, I'm keen, but I don't want to let Dean know that, because I also knew that my wife would not want that, and my mother. Remember, my mother, she was not keen. Yeah. So I thought, wow, man, this is not good. So I had to go home and I had to talk to them. And this is the same wife that used to drop me off at games and go, no fighting today, darling. And I go, oh, yeah, no, all good. And my mum, you know, because they don't even like me hitting anyone else. Yeah. So long story short, I was able to convince them that I really wanted to do this and that I wanted to test myself, because this was a test, man. Because the fight after my fight was against Monty Barrett. Shane knocked him out with 1 punch in the 4th round. Monty Barrett was the only guy that after that dropped David Tua in his whole career, all right? So this gives you some insight to who this dude was. And I was fighting Shane Cameron, who's a household name and legend. And to make it worse, once I agreed to the fight, then Lonergan put a 20 grand knockout bonus onto it. Oh. And there was already people in the media going, no, they shouldn't fight this. This is going to be bad for his health. This is not really good. So Dean goes, yeah, okay, 20,000 knockout bonus on it. So I was like, wow, okay, cool. So then I went and saw Lolo Heimule. I said, help me, Lolo, I need your help. 2 weeks of training going into this. And that was the only fight I lost in my career. I don't know why I was on my professional record. It was not meant to be. But, man, if I could have any fight over and over again, I'd have that one, because it was scary, it was exhilarating, and it was real, man. He left me waiting in the ring for a very long time, and The Gambler Paid, which is his song. And every time I hear that now, I just have a laugh, because people thought I was going to get killed, and people, you know, they thought, wow. And then when that song comes on, and I used to be a big fan of Shane's, and I still am now, I hear that and I just have a little giggle, because that's when I got tested so much, and I was able to come through on the other side and celebrate with getting out of there in one piece, man.
Were there a few words spoken? Because I remember you did a couple niggly things. I saw the ref broke you up in the corner. You threw a little punch over the top. Put it this way,
bro. After that, there wasn't any word spoken for 2 years. I cornered him one time. It was that Sonny Bulls fight, and I sat down. I said, "Bro, come on, enough's enough, bro. Let's have a chat." Because I needed to do what I needed to do to get through that bout and in one piece. This guy was top 15 in the world, 20 grand knockout bonus. You know, like.
Well, he wouldn't let it go.
He wouldn't let it go because, you know, we were good mates in that going forward. You know, so maybe it was just too much for him, and he didn't like that. Maybe it was disrespectful, but I knew if I didn't throw him off his game, and Lolo Heimule was the same, you know, which was getting in that rock and then calling him out and then just saying, you didn't hurt me, it was nothing, and then getting the corner rolled up and doing everything we can to just try and put him off his game would make the difference. And I believe it did make the difference, because at that stage, I didn't really know a lot about boxing, bro. It wasn't until after that and I retired again and I got back in with Lolo Heimule that I actually learned how to fight. Then I won a New Zealand title, and that's when I was getting ready to go. But then I had a head bleed, which means I had to stop that. But like that, man, like he was a guy that I watched the whole way through, admired him, still love what he does for boxing. But man, you've never felt more alive in your life, man, when you know you're going into a ring to fight someone that I shouldn't be fighting, and there's blood money involved as well. So
I think that takes a special sort of person too to be able to think like that.
Or silly, bro.
Yeah.
Or selfish, because like
special.
yeah, special, exactly, bro. But like back, a lot of the stuff and decisions I made in my life, I look back at now and I go, bro, selfish, because I've got a partner, long time wife who I was with my very long time, who really stood back and let me do a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't have. Yeah. And I really cherish her and love her for that. But when I think back, man, that's not good. But anyway, it's gone, it's dusted, and as a result of all those things that have happened in life, like I gave up the great game of rugby league, getting paid the most money I can to come home and box, you know, when my wife was pregnant, and once again, selfish. But, you know, sometimes when you get put down the path, you got to make sure by getting it right that eventually it was the right path that you made, because it may have not, at times not been the right path. You thought was not going to be the right path, but because you was hell-bent on making it work, that you eventually get to a point where you go, see, I told you, it's going to be fine. And that's what you got to do sometimes.
I was actually I was listening to a podcast on the way up here with Jimmy Marshall, I don't know if you know who that is, played for the Hurricanes. He started this thing called What a Lad podcast, and he was talking about Lemus Wonga. He was talking about his move to Europe, to the UK, and then his next sort of moves. And he was talking about how he potentially is going to be coming back to try and do 1 year with the Hurricanes, and then leave again. And his wife was sort of like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be comfortable again and be settled back here and then have to move again. And he also talked about potential to go play for Samoa in the sevens, but he would have had to leave his partner with his 3 kids to do the what do you call it when you come back in? To do the...
You mean isolation?
By themselves, if he was to go do that, because they couldn't rebook the ticket for both of them. So he didn't do it. But what they were talking about was how much like family and how much there is going on behind the scenes that people don't see when it comes to decisions and things like that.
100%, because I mean, like, I probably would never have left the Warriors if it wasn't for some of the criticism I was copping at the time, and that's fine too. You never say never, because things change. Gary Freeman, after a Kiwi tour many years ago, said, "Would you come and play here in England?" I said, "Never." And then I ended up playing in England, and then I dropped that short. But the sacrifices that a lot of our family and our partners in particular make for us, and at times can be selfish, are huge, man. It makes a huge difference in keeping us up. Because when you look back at it now, there's times when you are down and your partner's keeping you up or getting you up or keeping you motivated, and you don't even know. Trust me. It's not even until you're later on in life and you go, oh, okay, I get it. I can see. I can see everything you've done for me over the last sort of X amount of years. And I can see that when I was sulking in this particular situation, that there's these little bits of gems that you were throwing at me that just got me up or got me motivated. Like, in time, you will really credit your partners and your family members, but you can't see it now, you know, at a young age, man.
Something I sort of struggle with at the moment, and I think you're quite good at it, and I was going to ask your opinion on it, is balancing. And I struggle with that quite a lot when it comes to trying to build a business, as well as obviously your partner. And I've recently had my first son, 8 months old, and I got the footy as well. So just balancing stuff. And how do you find is the best sort of way you've found to balance things throughout the years? Because you've got a lot going on.
I just got to get things done. But that's why you're in here, bro, because of all the mahi you do. And that's why I'm glad you are not only playing sport, but you're doing the business thing, bro. You're getting involved in it that way, because a lot of our people are very talented athletes, but we don't just have to be athletes, bro. We can be businessmen, we can be business ladies, we can do a number of things and be great parents and do that all together, because at your young age, it's hard. Like, I'm only getting better as a dad now. You know, I probably miss some of the great years of my kids, and, you know, miss being the best dad that I could have been. But rather than not being there at all, it's better late than never. And I've really, really honed in on my skill set for that. When it comes to the business here that we are Indigo, I'm very lucky because I only have to go deep in what I do, which is some relationships, which is some of the stuff that is the icing on the cake. You know, we've got the likes of producer Peach, we've got Pat, who's our co-founder, we've got Andy Hamilton, all the best teams. And I remember Wayne Bennett giving this talk a long time ago. If you're not the best at something, you just got to find some other people that are the best at it. Now, in your situation now in life and at your age, you've got to do it, bro, because you don't have the resource, or you don't have you know, the funds or anything else like that. But by you doing that is great, you know, and you got to lean on your partner. For me, it comes down to 3 P's, right? So the first thing is purpose. That's the last thing on your mind before you go to bed at night, and it's the reason you get up in the morning. This can change all the time. It may be your kids, maybe your family, but if this is strong, when you find those hard times where you, man, I can't do this anymore, or it's fucking getting too hard, or it's just too much, I need to concentrate on footy, whatever it is, it will help you push through. Process is how do you get from point A to point B. You got to know the maps to to get there, right? The streets to take, the roads to take to get to a particular point. And now, thankfully, with education, thankfully with even YouTube or whatever, those maps are mapped out for you. Okay, the last one is perseverance. You know, like if you knock on a door and you knock on the door and there's no answer, okay, you're going to walk away and leave it. But if you really want to get through that door, it's going to matter how long you knock on the door or how hard you knock on that door or for what period of time before someone even opens the door or you bust it down. So for me, that's a big way of setting my goals. You know, those who do not set goals will spend the rest of their lives serving those who do. So 3 P's: purpose, process, perseverance. And if you get the purpose is strong enough, you persevere long enough to loop around to that circle. But for you as a young man and an absolute killer, bro, that's why I admire that, because you're doing everything. You know, like over the years when I was a professional athlete, I just had to worry about what I do, and then the Warriors do everything else, or the Kiwis do everything else, or I was getting paid good money to do that. Man, you don't have that luxury. So you have to work even harder to, maybe become a professional athlete, or to push your business to be in a position where you don't need anyone else's help. You know, which is great. So when I see young killers like you doing that, bro, it's amazing. The answer to the question is, how do you get that balance? I think each person has their own understanding, but what is really important is to think about you and your self-investment. Like I always say, Jimmy Spittle, I trained him, he's an absolute freak, and he says only the fittest are fearless. You know, like if you're fit and healthy body and mind, you see things better, you react better. If you're angry, you don't get as angry, you stay clear, your clarity is there. So to help you with that balance is to invest in yourself and keep being that fit version of you, which you obviously are, man.
Wayne Bennett, you mentioned there, I've heard ample stories about that guy. Is he one of, the best sort of coach you've ever had?
I think he's one of the best man managers ever, and he's still doing that to this day. And now it's a little bit different because the head coaches don't actually do a lot of coaching. Yeah. But it's not always the best coaching that sees you right. It's the relationships. You know, like if you have a person that believes in you, that cares about you, and you've got that respect for them first of all, and then you want to reciprocate in that love and what they're teaching you, I think that's the key, and that's what seems to be Wayne Bennett's. Like years on after people have left the Broncos, they always have these relationships with Wayne, and they ring up Wayne, and whatever Wayne says has a huge bearing on their thoughts going forward. That's why a lot of people would go and play at the Broncos on very little money, because they just want to be in the system underneath Wayne.
It can't be a coincidence that wherever he goes, those teams succeed. Like, maybe not instantly, but over time, they end up becoming killers in their area. And I mean, it just cannot be a coincidence that he just happens to be there every single time.
You know, when you feel the love of a parent or feel the love of the uncle. So, for example, Wayne's probably like that cool uncle that you like, that always showed you that much more time, more so than your dad. And he's that cool uncle that always had time for you when no one else had time for you. And that uncle that lifted you up with the great compliments or the great bit of information or motivation. I reckon that's Wayne Bennett. And that's Wayne Bennett to everyone. But, you know, he's that dude, you know, and sometimes that is, you know, a happy player or a happy fighter or a happy athlete is better than the one that is stressed out but knows everything and how to execute, man.
Do you think, off onto a different tangent, do you think that, like, your upbringing in your childhood has a direct effect on your ability to hustle and your mindset in that area?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it was a hard upbringing, but like everyone has a hard upbringing in different ways. But I also believe, you know, from a young age, my dad telling me, don't tell me, show me. You know, failing to make the Auckland team the first year round and then making it the following year. And then the then coach at the time says, you know, if you fail to prepare to fail. So I am high performance, and high performance doesn't mean X factor or ability. It means meticulous process with a work ethic when no one else will. And I think from a young age and being instilled, because, you know, like coming from being the son of Monty Betham, who was something back then, which was my dad, my mum used to always say to me, no, you can't do that because you're a Betham. You can't do that because you're a Betham. No, she wasn't trying to be up herself. She's just saying, you know, that's a proud name that you need to be proud of, and know that you're representing that name every time you're out or every time you're doing something. So whether it was purposely done or not, that stuff got ingrained and instilled in me that like, man, you know what, I'm a Betham. I need to be of a particular standard so I can make my parents proud, and then I can be proud of the name that was given to me as well. So upbringing is huge, man, because, you know, work ethic can't be substituted for anything, and I think that's what I got from an upbringing, you know. And I got a taste of some success, and you know what, I like the fact that my dad would give me a bit of praise. Didn't hear a lot of it early on, so I was like, I want more of this. I want more of this. And then when I got that, I loved it, and I just wanted to keep going, man. You
obviously went from like sports and stuff, and something you're probably not as known for around is your business and your entrepreneurial mindset. Where did that sort of start? Like, obviously you're involved with Pat a lot with things in businesses. What sort of kicked that off?
I guess in a way, because first of all, I was going to say there and then, like, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have that mindset. But before I met Pat, I was doing personal training. I was having group sessions. I was having a lot of type of stuff. And to do that, you've got to be able to market yourself. You're meant to be able to put that out there. You need to put systems in place and everything else. So when I think back out of it now, I guess I did have that way, but not your typical standard of entrepreneur. But it just happened by chance. I met up with Pat. We had a long-standing relationship. I went to him for a bit of advice because he's very open and honest. He gave me advice and a path to go down and pursue. And I said, I'm going to go down that path, but I want you to come and help me on that path, because I think you can help me get it in there with the business owner that I want to work with, and we can do some wonderful things. And then, you know, it's cut a long story short, Pat went in there, showed him how he could be better in what he was doing. The guy loved it instantly and said, I want to buy it now. I want you to come and do this with me. And then Pat goes to me, goes, you know what, man, how many relationships or how many people do you know that we could go and talk to? We could do the same thing, and I'll give you commission. So I want to give you commission for this. And I said, bro, I don't want commission. How about I back you, because I think you're amazing. I've seen it happen. Whatever you put in, I'll put in, and then we're in business, man. Let's go. So that's about seeing opportunity, grabbing it with two hands, and also realizing good people, realizing and understanding colours. Not just what they do and how they execute, but what's in their heart, what's in their makeup and who they are and what they're about. I've known him for 10 years. I like that. It felt good. And I knew he's going to be a great guy to be, just like Andy Hamilton, who is one of our shareholders within Indigo as well. He is the founding CEO of the Ice House, and he's a killer. Startups, he's the man. And Pat said to me early on that he's on the hit list, that he's going to be part of our team. Andy didn't know that at that stage. And many months or years later, hey, man, he's part of our team. So when you think about business, you think about sport, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. It's about strategy. It's about relationships. It's about work ethic. It's about
doing your role.
Systems, man. And play your role to a team, man. Like, I can't do a lot of that stuff that these guys do there. So when I first came in, I was like, okay, so should I learn to do that? Or should I just be really good and go deeper at what I can do? And that's the area that I think I should go, because I went on a Power Moves retreat one time, and I had that imposter syndrome because I was sitting down with some big CEOs and everything else. I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to you because I'm not a business dude. I don't know that. But I found out it wasn't what I didn't know, but it was what I knew. And then I'd always go back to sport. I talk about opportunities or how to get particular teams up or individuals up, or high performance culture or anything like that. And they love that. And that's what you got to remember. And that's what you got to cross over into your business, right? Which makes us pretty special, because delivering under huge pressure, under the lights, on a sporting stage or dancing stage, whatever, Dancing with the Stars, whatever it was, that takes the same ingredients or same bit of work that you need to be successful in business as well.
It's an interesting take on it, like thinking just because you're in business doesn't mean that you're that sort of way inclined in terms of thinking. I think, like, if you're a rugby player, just because you're a rugby player doesn't mean you know how to scrum. Like, you got your wingers, they score tries, but they wouldn't have a clue what to do if you chuck them in a scrum.
Well, they always say, together everyone achieves magic. That's team. Although Wendell Saller went on Treasure Island with Wendell Saller one year, and he goes, I said, bro, there's no I in team. But he goes, yeah, Mom, but there's 5 I's in individual brilliance. And I said, okay, bro, you win.
Wendell Saller.
He's a legend, Wendell Saller.
Oh, that's crack up. What's the hardest part of the business side that you've found?
The hardest part for me, to be honest, is not being able to help enough at crucial times.
Yep.
Because, like, being a guy that was a leader in their field or in their lanes, or knowing what to do in a particular situation to get people up, especially when you know the process of sport, I can't necessarily do that in business. Like, I still know that relationships one-to-one, and I can help motivate people or help talk to people and make them feel better. Sometimes I see Pat and Andy or whatever doing the mahi and going really deep, and unfortunately I don't have the skill set to do what they're doing. Yeah. So sometimes I sit back and I think, man, I just feel like a spare wheel and I want to help out, that's sometimes a little bit hard. But then there's other moments where, and it only happens a few times, where they can't do a hell of a lot, and I go, yeah, baby, I'm coming off the bench, it's time to go, and then I really want to drive what I can do and get that done really well. So that's been the hardest thing about business, and then my own realization, and I don't have to be everything to everyone. Like, I don't have to know everything about everything. I just need to know this is what we do. Yeah. This is what we're about. This is why we do it. And this is my role, and I just really simplify it, just like I did on the rugby league field. Simplify it, because, like you said, not everyone can score tries. Not everyone has to know everything about the game. But if you do what you do well, and over the years things change and you've got to reinvent yourself. Yeah. If you do something that is so important that they can't get rid of you, or they need you to stay on, then you're relevant. So just keep relevant, man.
Yeah, no, that's mean. You obviously see a lot of businesses now. Are there any sort of in particular that you think are on the up? I just seen coming through.
Look, we had a couple of winners for our Manaki U.
Did see that, yeah.
And it was amazing. Like, I've followed Hannah now on her social media page, and in terms of what she does and the brightness that she brings to people's lives, around wellness and well-being is absolutely huge, man.
We've just got a couple questions off the Instagram Q&A.
Oh, yes.
To finish it off, so we'll do a few quick fire questions. Habits and processes you implement with strength training and general fitness.
Habits and process, as an old has-been type of a guy, is just making sure that that I get what I need in weekly. Obviously, I don't need it to be powerful or strong or be have anything that's there for performance, but I make sure that like diet's got to be pretty good, because I know if I'm sitting around the right sort of weight for me, I feel better about who I am and what I'm about. And also, obviously, get that clarity with some of the walks. Sometimes I go on walks and they have aspirational walks where I put on songs that I think about what I want to try and achieve in the future. And also I have my reflection walks where I put on songs, and then I reflect on my week that's been, or I reflect on particular moments and how what was good and what could do better. And that's just all through walking, because if you get out there in the fresh environment, that type of stuff is a way you can check in, because if you just get blinded by the hassle and the hustle every day, you miss out on that, man.
Did you learn that stuff yourself, or you learned that from someone?
Just something I came up with myself. Did a lot of walking, and then I realised that I've got a couple of different playlists. Some of the songs that evoke the dreams, or evoke me trying to achieve something in particular, or songs that when I listen to, I think, you know what, this song is good for me to sort of reflect on what I've achieved or how I haven't quite executed the way I want to execute it. So something I like to share with other people.
It's interesting. Your keys to losing fat?
Well, it's energy in versus energy out. It's pretty simple. And if you're talking about process, there's so many apps that are there for you. So it's just obviously a calorie deficit, and that's as simple as it is. But for you to stick to it is the key, and that's the purpose that we're talking about, right? So once again, you can use the 3 Ps for that. Your purpose to lose weight. And now this could be as shallow as you want. It doesn't matter, because it's about you, and if it's true to you and it keeps you on the straight and narrow, that's what's going to work. The process is easy. It's everywhere. You just Google it right now and you'll find out a number of different apps that can help you with that calorie deficit. And then that perseverance, if you've got people that you've got to be accountable to, or if you've got systems in place that keep you accountable, and if your process or your purpose is good enough, it sort of loops back in and around as well. So 3 Ps are going to help you there, man.
Proudest moment?
I've had a few. My kids are very proud moments, and you know about that, man. Debuting in Samoa with my dad in my corner as my coach, where it all started for him with the Samoa flag around me. Being named the youngest ever Warriors captain at 24 years of age when I took it off Stacey Jones and Kevin Campion. That was huge, and that was huge because you had Stacey Jones trying to help me as well, which was amazing. 2 guys I really looked up to. The little general, man, absolute legend. Playing for Tour Samoa, playing for the finals the first time. Those are those real proud moments. And then also every day when you walk around this place and you see some really good bits of work that we've done for Manaki or for Small Business Day, and you get to help these businesses who would normally fall over or not thrive as a result of that. Those are proud moments too. And I say time and time again, I thought winning a game or winning a fight was important, but nothing's more important than helping these businesses, man, because those are livelihoods. Those are things that truly are important, man.
Yeah, that's nice. And your best business advice you ever got?
Best business advice? I don't know. Best business advice, get a very good partner. I've got very good partners. Know what you can do well and know where you're deficient in those particular areas. And if you can fill those voids with amazing people, that's great. But for us, we've got particular bias towards business and what we need to do as well. Because for me, this is my second act. Pat refers to it quite a bit, and it is to make sure that kids coming through, we're not just inspired about what I was able to do in the ring or on the field, but also inspired about having a business of Pacifica or Māori descent in terms of the founders and owners that you can aspire to be as well. And it can be just as successful in the business realm, which is what you're doing, man. You're doing on the field and off the field in business, and I love to see that, man.
I think it's kids like us that are looking up to people like you that are paving that way at the moment. So, bro, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for sharing your time, bro. And just thanks for being a role model in our area, bro. And there's a lot of effect that you're giving that you probably don't see. So, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you giving me your time to jump on this and share a bit of your knowledge.
Awesome, brother. And just keep taking that opportunity, bro. It's all about opportunities, and you seem to be doing that, and that's why you're in here, and that's why you get a lot of support in and around you. Got a couple of people who also reach out to you today because they see you, and that's about that culture, right? Like I always talk about culture in here. Culture is something that you do when no one's watching. It is not doing the right thing when people are watching, and people are watching always, man, with social media, and I'm a big fan, man. But anyway, let's wrap that up, mate.
Behind closed doors, eh? David Nika for gold, or?
David Nika for gold, baby.
Let's go. All right, thanks for brother.
Awesome, bro.